This is a big place where we life forms hang, nothing but time and space ever since the Big Bang. You've got a blank page and some crayons. You've got your own stage you can play on. You've heard about this passion play. Well, God is giving parts away, and you get to choose one.
But if you're cynical and nothing changes, then you're going to be stagnant.
Basically saying that everyone has God within.
Choose to think small or fly high. You can even imagine a wall and not try. You can stand there frozen at the crossroads, knowing when you've chosen,
We don't know who wrote this.
there will be lost.
It's a study of cultures and
Every
subcultures.
game
That's what that is.
involves a
Okay?
loss,
Reaching back out.
regardless of the coin you toss. Why don't you choose one? You may as well choose one.
Your thinking produces your actions.
Happy New Year. It's January the 1st of 2010. We're at Richland Prison in Mansfield, Ohio. As I was drinking my coffee this morning and thinking about it being New Year's Day, I looked on my refrigerator. I'm a collector of magnets that mean something. So one of the magnets that I pulled off and brought the quote that life isn't about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. So a conscious, we like to start cycles on the 1st of January. So a conscious creation of self, I think, would sum up what we talk about in this class, and where we try to get to in this class is consciously thinking about our life and making decisions as opposed to reacting to what happens. Does that make sense? Is that a good quote for that? Okay. I have a few things I want to handle, and then what we're going to talk about is the 6 phases of religion, civil religion, and what makes a religion. Lewis Charles, that came in on Jesus religion, one of his quotes, he gives a quote, at least one quote every day, and one of his recent ones was, and again I'm thinking New Year's Day, we learn from each other, though we are at different places and paths. Be open and consider what others have to say and demonstrate. What can you take away from their expressions? Is there not some value within every single person that can be treasured? I used to say that I learned something from everybody, even if it's tolerance. At the bottom of your syllabus, I think this means more. I was reading it last night, and I think I read it in 18 minutes. At the bottom of your syllabus, your original syllabus, I put thoughts before we begin, and this was just from me about this class, and I'm trying to kind of summarize and see what all we need to tie up and what holds from all the guest speakers, and because of the reformatting and stuff. So I wanted to go back and reclaim this. Thoughts before we begin. Good morning.
Good morning.
And this is from me. I am a seeker of universal God truths, a student of life. I am a pilgrim on my path, opening doors, walking hallways of my mind. I am aware of the urgency of now. I do not have all the answers, seeking the questions. I am not an authority on anything. Do not believe religion is the way, but a necessary infrastructure for rituals. I am not here to judge or to be judged. I pledge to bring enough info for you to seek more, to learn from our times together. There are many things that I do not wish to know on deeper levels. I'm content here. All of our interests stem from different places and grow towards different purposes. Unified by our desire to continue to seek, to facilitate a safe place and time for us to merge in intimate thought and open discussions. Together we shall plant the seeds of curiosity, and longingly that will spread and develop from individual to community education, healing, and growth. Religions as a social structure, okay? So this is going to be sociology, but looked at through metaphysics, okay? I heard first of all, what religion is God?
Nature, love.
Huh?
Catholic.
Catholic?
That's what Mom told me.
Mom told me. And the reality is, scientifically, Is there more than one higher, anybody in here believe that there's more than one higher power?
Define higher power.
Well, I don't want to say God, because we have Allah, right? You know,
Allah is God.
right.
I mean, I
By
believe
different
there are several
names.
stages of higher powers, but I believe there's an ultimate higher power
Okay.
that governs.
I had somebody say to me this week, there's only one path to God. Like this, you know. And it was like, well, okay, you know, that's right. So anyway, those are just thoughts. But anyway, I somewhere I got the figure that there's over 20,000 formerly identified religions in the world. Over 20,000. So I'm Googling last night, trying to find me some paper that says that, right? And the first thing I landed on, there's 30,000 variations of Christianity. So that blew the 20,000 out of the water. So I guess there's 20,000 formal religions, and each one of those have, 500,000 variations to them. But anyway, my question is, if there's let's say 20,000 formal identified religions in the world, how does that happen that we have so many different religions?
Well, I think it happens because it deals with ritual. Everybody think that
With what?
it deals with ritual. I think that's why there's many different versions. And those rituals have absolutely nothing to do with God.
Okay, so the rituals are man's social. It's actually, you can be a social interactionist as if you're a sociologist and you want to be, there's three kinds. There's symbolic interactionist, there's functionalist. That's not where I would take this, but that's a good place to go. Functionalist, and there's conflict. Okay? A functionalist is going to study things in society by how they affect society and how you keep society going. And death and dying would be an example. You get 3 days off if they're real close to you. Don't ask for any more, get over it quick, because the company needs you and we need you back at work. That's functional. See, what you want society to keep on track. Symbolic interaction is about studying society from the different rituals and symbols and how people group each other according to what they associate. Religion would be a good way to do that. Conflict is Marxist, Karl Marx. What do you mean? And what he means is how the individual suffers because of this. So in other words, what do you mean that I only get 3 days off for a death in my family, and it may have been my cousin, but my cousin raised me, and that affects me, that no one takes me seriously or thinks I should have off, and I could lose my job. The conflict that it causes the individual, while we as a society, say the company, the society has to be better. Okay, so those are the three real
So
quick.
what functionalists do again?
Functionalist wants society to function, not the individual, for society to function smoothly. That's a Calvinistic approach where it's really company, country, and God and you is really kind of the way they do the paperwork. But that's also a capitalistic. See, that's capitalistic. Symbolic is a social, more emotional, individual grouping, studying as groups. Why are people grouped? Conflict is looking at the cost of all of this towards the individual, how the individual has to give up their ability to deal with stuff in a healthy way, or how's it squeezing the individual. The conflicts within the individual that they have to deal with on their own. Okay, so the answer is that religions, we have the question on the table is, we don't even know how many religions. I couldn't find that, but we're going to say there's over 20,000 formal religions on the books. Okay, and each one of those have 50,000 variations in them. So why? How does that happen? And the answer that's on the table is through rituals, because people have symbolic interaction that looks alike. That's one of the answers. What other answers? Why would we have religion? Not spirituality, but religion. So, and who's right?
They're all right.
You must have learned that in class, right? Okay. They're all right. Okay. So who believes? If you have 20,000 religions, so this is all made up of groups of people, whatever size, right? These are people doing rituals together in symbolic interaction. They've gone to the trouble to have their own religion and stuff. So who believes they're right? Who believes in this group that they're right, that they are the right religion? They're the way to God. The ones that are in here, right? That group? I grew up in a church that had 65 people. I had no doubt that we were going on to heaven. I told everybody that. I was fanatical, okay? So people support what they help to create, remember? Whether they end up disagreeing with it or not, they support what they help to create, okay? So what makes them right? They believe they're right. They believe they've got the direct access to God. What makes them right? What makes them the right religion? Let's pretend this is yours. You're in that group.
The ego.
They make it right.
They make it right. People support what they help create, right? But the reality is, when you buzz it all back, God didn't have a religion, right? We're gathered up for ritual. That is the reality. Does that make sense? Anybody disagree with that? Okay, how important is ritual?
It's very important. That's like one of the mortars of society.
Why is it important?
Because it creates a distinction, us and them. So it's that bond.
Creates. Oh. The definition of intimacy, anybody remember what that is?
Yeah. Been a long time, but I remember.
Yeah, because I couldn't get it right up here, right? Intimacy is bonding over time. That's a sociologist. Even your enemy, if you and your enemy were the only two people on the island, at some point you get hungry enough to have human connection that you would start finding out, even in your conflict, finding out enough information about them to begin to understand them, that you'd probably end up bonding. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And be a good friend. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So, if you throw yourself back in answer to all the different religions, by the way, how many are there? It should also be noted that the humanist philosophy say that each person's religious theology is so unique that the answer would equal that there are no, whatever the population is how many religions there are. Because you may say you're Baptist or whatever, but what you believe is different from what each other person does, so there's really a religion for every single human. Okay, what's the point? So I stopped looking for the number. Okay. Why do we create religion? And what is its function? So if you back up all the way to let's become cave people, okay, that are nomads, that were roaming around, right? So there's, do you need to move your desk in front of time? So if we become nomads and there's tigers and lions and bears, right?
Oh my.
Oh my. I started to go, whoa, that's not right. Tigers and lions and bears, oh my, okay? And we're nomads and stuff. How important is it that you stay with the group, right? And not be hanging out over here. You know, this ain't gonna last, right? Okay? So anything that causes grouping, okay? So let's again pretend that we're this little nomad group, you know, and so we're small enough that we're experiencing the same stuff because we're not spreading out all over the land, right? So what happens when last night we have a blue moon?
We all see it.
Okay? What happens when there's a blue moon and the bear eats two of the children? Does that become...
Connected.
Does that become a bad omen? Y'all, duh. You know, what happens when there's a lunar eclipse and the crops fail? Does it have anything to do with the fact that it hailed and wiped them out? No, it has to do with the fact there was an eclipse and the gods were pissed off at us about something, right? See how that all happens over time? All of it happens that way, okay? But staying within the group keeps you alive. Does it keep them fed? You have survival, even socially. People that, teenagers and people, but particularly studies are on teenagers that are in neighborhoods where there's a lot of church and religiosity and stuff, even if they don't go to it. There's a support system built in that those kids do better. Because what that is, it's not religion, it's social. There's more support. Does that make sense? Can you see how it goes there? So religion is a gang, so to speak, I've heard y'all say. A gang, a group, a religion, a church, all these things are just a social group where you have stuff in common. We're going to dissect it a little bit more than that. But what bonds you is the things. So there's a blue moon, 2 children get eaten by a bear, and you find, I don't know, what can we get our way back out of that? That there would be this token that would save us. Maybe a meteorite comes out of the sky and hits the bear on the head before he eats the rest of the children. So now all of a sudden meteorites are sacred. We'll build a temple and put the meteorite there, right? That's how it happens, right? So you get the drift on that. So no matter where you go, there's different rituals, there's different whatevers. But rituals, and you may say, like I grew up Baptist, if you have ritual, if you have relics, you go to hell. It's over. You know, you don't have any of these things. And those Catholics have all those saints and those sculptures and those necklaces. Oh my God, they're certainly going to go to hell. You know, that's how I grew up, right? I didn't know if y'all knew that part or not. But anyway, it's really important. And so the Baptists would say, we don't have any idols and we don't have any rituals, and they have all that and they're going to hell. We can't have that because we go to hell, right? How many rituals do you have in your life, even in the limitations of being in here? Do you shave the same way? Do you brush your teeth the same way? Do you lay your clothes out the same way? You know, all these. You'll probably have more rituals in here than you had out there because it has to be that way, structured in a community environment. So ritual is critical. Critical to hang on to them, you know. So if we jerk somebody out and take all their stuff away from the ritual, we can rattle their brain for them. Okay. So we create religion out of fear, right? We group together for fear, out of fear. If we weren't afraid, we might not want to stay in that group. We might not even like them. Okay? They could have been created out of superstition. How much of it's created out of superstition? Over time, how many religions were created that way? Even today. Okay. How many of them were created just to establish territory? Okay. How about this one? How many were and continue to be established political for political control? I apologize to all the Catholics when I say this. You know my book's about them, so forgive me. But the Virgin of Guadalupe is the only brown-skinned virgin. And she showed up and manifested herself one time only, and that was when the Spanish came in to proselytize the Native American Indians. They needed a brown-skinned virgin. Whether she existed or not, I don't know. But politically, she was needed. Maybe she showed up because she was politically needed. I don't know. But it was political control from where I stand as a sociologist, okay?
What about the Black Madonna that's located in various churches around the world?
I don't know where I don't know. I've not seen, I don't hang out there. So But I know the story on the Virgin of Guadalupe is showing up and when and why. Okay. Does that make sense? Political control of the women, if you go through and look through the different saints and stuff, the different things that happened to the women, and they were always rewarded for being extremely moralistic and extremely loyal to their man and these kind of things. If you get canonized for that, then what does that make me as a woman do? Well, that must be that's my model. See what I'm saying? Whereas if you go into some of the tribes in Africa, it might be reversed. You know, when you look at the religions, you see what was needed to grow through the centuries politically to survive and control both. That's my opinion. Okay. Now, I want to move it into, I'm going to talk about the 6 phases of faith development, then civil religion in America, and then what constitutes a religion real quick, okay? Not because we're talking about religion, but because we're talking about social structure. Okay, as human beings, through our lifetime, and those of y'all that were in my very first study on the analysis of evolution inside male prisons as a predictor of recidivism, we went through this, but we're touching on it differently. So phase 1, and this is from J.W. Fowler, who's a renowned sociologist. He came up with this theory, okay, that phase 1 is from the ages of 3 to 7 years old, and it states that a child has no logical reasoning. They believe anything's possible. Secular myths are all real. Bible stories are valid. God's an old man with a long white hair and beard, and the child accepts the voices of authority as the law. The child doesn't question comments from the caregivers, from the media, or society as it's presented to the child. That's the phase. Can you hear a priori in there? Remember, a priori is the things that you believe and you don't even know you believe, or why you believed, or how come, or that's when that happens, because that's how the human brain is at that phase. Anything that child hears. Now, I would challenge, in today's electronic world, and in today's world where our children are in daycare at 5 or 4, and they're in kindergarten at 5, that this figure doesn't go up to 7 so much, okay? But they believe whatever you tell them to believe. They buy into the magic at that time, okay? So that's also the period of time that the child will buy into the fact that they're no good. Right? Or that they are. Okay. Got it? Okay, you wanted the name of that. Excuse me. That's called intuitive projective faith. Okay. Phase 2. Phase 2 is from the ages of 7 to 11. The child has begun to look at faith and is accepting of what clergy and other authority figures teach. The child still accepts religious stories as being literal. However, they've begun to pull away from the secular myths such as Santa Claus. Okay? And what they're starting to look at is, well, I don't know if this story is true or that story is true, but I see value in it, and I see some parallels, and they're starting to learn to apply the parables and the stories to their own lives. Start, kind of forming some hero stuff, okay? And that's called the mythical literal. Okay, then phase 3 is the synthetic conventional, which is from the ages of 12 to 19. And that's what we're going to talk about most of today. States that the child is confronted with diversity and life experiences that do not provide easy answers. So all of a sudden, this what's real, what's not real, these stories, I don't know.